Well, it's that time of year again. Welcome to the Miami for Social Change Youth Film Festival. Sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, get your soft drinks, and snag a movie buddy, and enjoy the show!
Have to be answers and sorry.
Drifting like a piece of wood, floating through the water. You don't care, you're happy when you flow. There's no need to track the time, floating through the water. You don't follow someone else's car. People gotta ask you what you gonna do. Don't know what you came for, but to find out and start. You don't owe an answer to anyone but you. Don't know what I came for, cause I felt it in my heart. Like a piece of driftwood, you're floating. Your body's painted in a rainbow sky. Like a piece of driftwood, you get along but you don't know how to swim. Just keep going with the flow when you don't know why. Drifting like a piece of wood, floating through the water. There's no mission, there's no sacred goal. Time, it just keeps passing by, bringing you to nowhere. Future isn't something we can force ourselves into. People gotta ask you what you gonna do. Don't know what you came for, but to find out and start. You don't owe an answer to anyone but you. Don't know what I came for, cause I felt it in my heart. Like a piece of driftwood, you're floating. Your body's painted in a rainbow sky. Like a piece of driftwood, you get along but you don't know how to swim. Just keep going with the flow when you don't know why. Like a piece of driftwood, you're floating. Your body's painted in a rainbow sky. Like a piece of driftwood, you get along but you don't know how to swim. Just keep going with the flow when you don't know why. People gotta ask you what you gonna do.
Don't know what you came for, but find out and start.
You don't owe an answer to anyone but you. Don't know what I came for, cause I felt it in my heart.
I mean, I even remember in the car on the way to Cardiff, hearing on the news, we could be feeling the effects of this virus for over a year from now. And we both laughed and said, no way.
It's those set of circumstances that exist in fiction, but you never expect yourself to live through it.
It very slowly just began to dawn on me what a big thing this was.
You know, we had hopes for the summer that everything was going to go away. And then when November hit, we had the second lockdown and then the last one.
I felt a real sort of stress reaction, really struggling with not being able to sleep. I started having panic attacks, which is something I've never had before.
I find myself tired most of the time, and I stay in bed for longer.
Many people I knew felt like their personalities were changing.
I've seen my kids being frustrated with homeschooling, and me wishing that they could be in school and getting the kind of education that they need.
You begin to ponder on where it is all going.
I look around at all of the community we live in and the shops closing down, our world just shrinking.
We are social creatures, you know, we need each other. We need to hug each other. We need to, you know, be around each other, you know, to share food, to share music, to share the same space.
It's been so long since I've had a decent conversation with anyone.
It feels like it's not passing over whatsoever at the moment. It feels like it's just going on, and we're just kind of stuck in this infinite limbo of in lockdown, out of lockdown, but for how long?
I guess that's the weird middle ground that no one can quite define, but it's where we all are.
I lost an extended family member to it. It becomes that much more personal when it's not just the death aspect, but the altering aftermath.
I also lost both of my grandparents in lockdown. I lost my grandfather a few days after my birthday, and then I lost my grandmother on Valentine's Day.
I went through a lot of stuff. I lost my gran to COVID. I hadn't seen her for ages.
My friend lost his mum to COVID recently, and I lost a very dear friend.
Ultimately, I lost my marriage, and that is something, you know, that will take a great deal of time for me to come to terms with.
I'm job hunting and no one's hiring.
All of the work I was doing before this was writing in the events sector and travel industry, two industries that were hit hardest, earliest. So that work dried up almost overnight.
My dreams have been really weird and dark and gloomy over lockdown.
My partner and I have been waking up from bad dreams, and neither of us could remember what they were.
Amy Schild is an American painter.
She was born on August 30th, 1972. Amy is an African-American woman who is an artist.
She likes to draw.
Amy Schild makes art that focuses on people. They are all people.
They got different colors and different clothes.
I see color in the clothes on people. She uses shades of gray for skin color.
These artworks all have bright backgrounds with patterns. Her paintings have black and white faces. They had different colors on their shirts. It is flat, but it makes it look poofy.
I like the bright color, the people in the portraits.
And something I've discovered about her is that she makes different kinds of artwork, like men, women, teenagers, babies, kids, all different kinds of artwork.
Beautiful. I like this style.
She had a lot of inspiration when she was painting, I bet. All of them have in common, they're all portraits of black people.
People like me.
She only paints black people. They're all black people paintings.
She draws arts that look like her or connect to her.
She first takes pictures of them and then she paints them. They're mostly about black people, and I think that's very special.
When she paints, it looks like it's real.
She had to get a heart transplant, and she likes simplistic art.
I like her work because it's colorful. It's awesome!
Beautiful!
I think that it's beautiful because it's me.
fancy. I think it's beautiful, I think it's amazing, and I think it's awesome.
Very inspiring and unique, and it's not typically the usual artwork that you get in museums.
I love her work because she cares about African Americans and she does portraits of them doing everyday things.
She looks at everyday things and stuff that is happening in our lives today.
She did really want to fight over, what's happening with racism.
Her work is about our skin color and race.
She's from Black History College, and my mom went to a black college, so she knows about her.
She wants black people to feel important.
It makes me feel like I'm sucked into the picture and feel what that person feels through their life. She contributes to Black history by doing art about Black people. She contributed by giving other people some time to shine, and I think her art is beautiful.
Also, Amy Shelley was the first African American woman to create a presidential portrait for the Smithsonian.
Amy painted a painting of Michelle Obama.
Her official portrait for the National Portrait Gallery,
which made her very famous. She made a picture for everyone to see. Which one had the white dress? She's a queen.
What do you think of this quote by the artist? I want my portraits to create a space where blackness can breathe.
She wants it to stay alive.
Like, it's a small space and it's crowded with white people. She makes black people feel good about themselves.
She wants black people living in the world. She wants them to have room in the world.
What I think this quote means is that black people need to stand out a bit more.
Creating a space where people could see that a person of color is a person just like themselves, and that people of color also can look at a portrait of themselves and love it.
I think black people can be themselves and be free. She wants other people to feel the spirit that they are strong and they are happy. I think she wrote, I want blackness to breathe because there is a lot of racism that is happening, and she wants other people to have some rest. Or maybe a little bit of spotlight.
She wants to express her feelings through her painting, so she's trying to make her paintings about black people so black people can be seen.
To show expressions and freedom, like, this is me, I am confident.
Blackness can now exhale.
Giving African American people a chance to be equal in today's world to do their best. The sky is the limit. She means that black can be free.
More than 2 billion people in the 4 corners of the planet have been quarantined to curb the spread of the disease, and many people needed to relearn how to organize their routines. Mostly, it is affecting to students' life, especially international student. But, if everything has a good side, the unprecedented situation created by the pandemic gave birth to good ideas. It helped to accelerate changes that have been under discussion for a long time.
I just can't get over the fact that COVID is literally affecting the whole world, every single person in the world.
The border closed 5 days before my flight. I remember that I called my coordinator of my Erasmus at 9 p.m. on her private number, please help me, like I have to book a flight or today, like or tomorrow, but I have like 3 days to arrive into the country before the border closed.
Missing relatives and my partner mostly. So I had a couple mental breakdowns.
Being locked up, it really didn't do that to just annoy you, you know. Of course, being away, you need all the support you need. But you know, you just do whatever you have to do just to.
Technology and collaboration, which are gaining more and more space in the construction of a new normal, is essential to support the new routine of individuals and organizations. But in some ways, it is also new abnormal. COVID-19 has drastically changed the educational landscape for millions of university students around the world, and international students have their own set of unique challenges. The many sudden changes, along with the chronic stress of the pandemic, may pose mental health challenges, particularly if students suffer from pre-existing mental health issues.
It's so difficult. I mean, we can't go to the university. We're forced to sit in our houses and study from home, which is so confusing, and it's not easy.
Online education I hate it because it's totally, actually, I came here to study like face to face, not like held online, and I don't think that the classes are efficient as much as before.
I feel like as film students we kind of found ourselves in a little bit of a bad spot, because it's like I'm personally just kind of lost and confused because of it, because I don't know, like, what's the right move to make right now? Is it going back home? Is it staying here? Just, you know, watching how this is going to play out?
Every student is going through this, and this is what is something that we have to cope with right now. We can't do anything. We have to like adjust. I am tensed every day, like every day, 24/7.
International students worry about things such as visa and graduation status, optional practical training, opportunities being harder to obtain or cancelled, whether to go home, living far from loved ones and not having a strong support network, having to find a place to live if dormitories closed, and finances. Furthermore, there has been a reported increase in prejudice, xenophobia and racism that might adversely affect the mental health of international students nowadays.
If the COVID finishes, and then like if it's gone like entirely, and then we're free not to wear masks, I think I'm not gonna be comfortable with not wearing it.
It's just fucking insane, honestly. I don't know if we'll be able to survive. We will, but for mentally, I don't think everyone's gonna be able to survive. Everyone's very demotivated to do anything, and no one seems happy anymore. I'm not happy, so...
The most difficult part is that when you wake up at night and you know there's nowhere to go but to your bed.
What's really weird for me is here I never been inside of the campus, so I don't even know how the campus looks like. I mean, I know my world campus by heart in Belgium, and I know where to get the best coffee and stuff. And here I never been inside of a classroom. I never met any of my classmates with who I have to make projects or assignments and stuff. And it's really weird for me to see it as the new normal, because it's how I will graduate it. So you start to think your future more.
Is it hard, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
azakoma.
Yokutshisa nyani sana chomi yo benza ukuthi uzawuyenza.
Hayi. Hayibo chomi ngathi ngumntana kanobuntu nje lona ucinga bawuthe.
Ubulindele ntoni itsho umama ke enje yani?
Ukhulelwe nyani.
Oh shame. Usuka phi?
Ndisuka baphandle mama. Khasapha la phone. Zikhona saphi phone? Okay mama.
Joe, njengatshelana time abithi na wena sa. Yabo ekseukazi uzethu. Yabo uzethu Joe.
Don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. Where's my manners? I'm Tabo.
I know that you're Tabo. Just tell me what you want.
I was just wondering if I could help with your bag.
I can carry heavy stuff for myself.
Esikhona thatha la plastic umse kumalume wakho. Ngidiniwe mina kuhamba. Kumalume. Mama anokwazi khonde fluflane. Hayi ungabuyenza lo nto xa ubuya kwakho. Hamba ungekabe late.
Mama, umalume nifike ngeke pha endlini.
Ewe ndiyayazi lo nto.
Yayazi? Wazi njani?
Ngobulapha.
Malume.
Hello. What is going on? Look for me.
Malume.
Ibinjani imini yakho namhlanje emsebenzini?
Yo, imini yami ibinhle.
They say the hardest walk is walking alone, but it's also the walk that makes you stronger.
What do you want from me? My life is a mess right now.
Messy can be interesting. I just want to talk more.
Okay.
A certain part of me wants to tell you this, but I'm not sure whether you'll believe me or not. I want you to know that I care about you and that you can tell me anything.
The last person who told me that left me broken. I'm pregnant. And it's my uncle's child. He used to help me when I was younger. But he did it again recently.
Does your mom know?
She'll believe me.
But we don't keep secrets like this. You have to tell her.
I can't do it.
But what if you hurt someone else?
Ntoni le? Yenzeke kanjani ke lo? Zikhona, yenzeke kanjani le nto? Kubani utata Zikhona?
Akabalulekanga mama.
Hey Zikhona, kubani utata walo mntana?
Umalume mama. Bendiza ukuxelela mama umalume uzifostile kumaxesha ibulele.
Ungazuphinde uthethe ubuxoki kwakhona. Ubulindele ntoni nje umama ke enjeyani? Ukhulelwe nyani? Oh shame.
Malume.
zikhona yenzeke kanjani le ukulindele into letsho umama ke hey zikhona kubani utata walomntana zikhona yenzeke kanjani le nto akabalulekanga mama malume kubani utata zikhona
We don't keep secrets like this. What if you hurt someone else?
I was walking home from football practice. All of a sudden, a police officer pulled over.
And I guess I was walking too fast for the police officers. And the man was following me around the store like I was gonna steal something, even though I had the money on me.
And he said the thing that they always say, that something happened a couple of blocks ago.
My dad had fit the description, but he was not the person who did it, so they actually beat him real bad, real bad. He had to get stitches in his head.
I was 13 years old at the time, so I was really young. And I was coming back from my grandmother's house, and she gave me $20. So I put the $20 in my socks, right? Where I live at is the South Bronx, Patterson Projects. There's always cops around here. Yeah, I noticed 2 cops. I kind of had butterflies in my stomach. Thinking in my mind, let me just hit the corner and run home. So I hit around the corner, boom, the cops was there. I thought about running again, but I was like, nah, let me just walk and act like I'm minding my business. So I was nervous, I was shaking a little bit. And it was why do you have a hoodie on? I'm like, it's cold outside. They was patting me down. And then once they touched my leg, they was like, why are you shaking? I'm like, no reason. They found $20. And it was like, what is this? The only thing that was on my mind, it was I hope I don't get shot, or I hope I don't get the $20 taken away from me because I'm hungry. I stopped dressing a certain way. I stopped walking a certain way. I feel like it was a loss of identity I had. I started doing research of why you can't wear hoodies and why police stop black men. And I was just looking at mad posts about police brutality. I seen Rodney King. I seen Trayvon Martin. It comes to a point doing all this research, I kind of got scared of the world. The world seemed like a dark place.
October 4th of 2018, I had got into altercations. A few months later, a detective came to my school. I wasn't disrespectful to him at all. I sat there with the nicest attitude I could ever have. And he just kept yelling at me. I felt like if one thing would have slipped and it was disrespectful, he would have tried to lock me up right then and there. I feel like I wouldn't treat somebody like that, especially somebody that hasn't been in that situation before. If I bring somebody into an interrogation room, I'm going to ask them questions about their past, try to get to know them, connect with them. Not everybody's been a criminal their whole life.
My brother and I, we were arrested and the police beat us pretty bad.
pretty badly when we were children. I was 15 at the time. For no reason at all, they just stopped and said, "Do you feel like a beatdown?" And they just kicked us in our groin repeatedly. And a black officer came in the room and told them, "That's enough." He did nothing else. All he said was, "That's enough." And a group of leaders in the African American community told us that we were making no headway in dealing with police abuse in our city, and they wanted us all to go into a law enforcement agency and fight from within. It was traumatizing at first because you don't want to go into the belly of your abuser, but I found that it was therapeutic. By going into the police department, it helped me take that demasculation that I felt when I was beaten that way, and it empowered me to fight in the police department, get promoted in that police department, and then be able to command those officers in that same police department. For many years, the police department didn't want to acknowledge the problems of racial profiling. And so many of our officers that came out of the police department, they came out embracing the culture of, when I police, I don't see race. That is a lot of crap. When you police, we see race in everything we do, but we need to have real conversations, and the trainings need to impact and affect that, and then you see a gradual change in how we are treating people that we police.
I would want the NYPD to know that I'm a civilized, caring individual.
One thing I want the NYPD to know about me is that I am not who they think I am because of these stereotypes. Like, I'm a positive person. I'm trying to do the right thing.
We're all the same. I'm like you and you're like me, and nobody's different.
Najviše mi ljuti kad branim sebe ili nekog drugog i onda budem ismijana. Kada je riječ o ismijavanju, muškarci su jako brzi. Kao da im uistinu nikada nije rečeno da je ono što rade pogrešno. Nažalost, u mom životu to su uglavnom bili muškarci. Čak meni moji prijatelji i obitelj ne brane kad ih trebam ili se smiju jasnim znakovima uznemiravanja.
So one time, I was really feeling myself while I was out with my friends. We were at a bar and I was wearing a crop top and jeans. A guy passed me and whispered, "Wow, you sure look rapeable tonight," and just kept walking. When I tell you I went from 100 to 0 in a split second, I still think about that moment all the time.
Cuando hay un hombre haciendo algo asqueroso frente a ti o invadiendo tu espacio, no debes simplemente decir algo, debes gritar algo. No te detengas, hazlos sentir pequeños.
Ich habe schon so viele Männer beobachtet, die Frauen in Geschäften oder Bars belästigt haben. Und ich lehne mich nicht einfach zurück und ignoriere es. Ich gehe tatsächlich absichtlich hin und starre sie einfach nur ausgiebig an. Ich mache mich richtig breit, bis sie weggehen.
Bir adam yanımdan geçip bana iğrenç şeyler söylediğinde ve erkek arkadaşlarım onu uyarmak için durdurduğunda kendimi gerçekten güvende hissettim. Arkadaşlarımın bunun benim için ne kadar önemli olduğunu ve yaşadığım şey üzerine neler düşündüğümü bileceklerini zannetmiyorum.
A quantidade de vezes que homem descartou a minha raiva porque eu sou latina é absurda. Eu sou constantemente fetichizada ao invés de ser vista como uma porra de uma pessoa que é degradada por nada. Eu preciso lidar com o fato de ser diminuída por ser uma mulher e por ser latino-americana. E a parada é que eu não tenho nenhum problema em fazer da vida deles um inferno também.
Le molestie sono un puro gioco di potere, sempre. Non capisco come sia possibile che così tanti uomini possano accettare che altri uomini trattano le donne in questo modo. Com'è possibile? Perché lo accettano? O perché fingono che nulla stia succedendo?
Coronavirus pandemic has now surpassed Infections are soaring to new highs across the country. New York City was the epicenter of U.S. outbreak earlier this year. Now it's decided to close all public schools again as it fights for survival.
are all different. That doesn't mean that one person is greater than the other or one deserves more. It means that we are all unique and should be treated equally. We shouldn't just place someone in a stereotype just because of their race, gender, or looks. Prejudgment is a big issue that still goes on today. It's just very discreet. It hides in our thoughts and how we see people. We shouldn't make an assumption that someone will do certain things that are not up to our expectations. We make small notes in our brain that this person will hurt you, bore you, misread you, or in any kind of way make you feel uncomfortable. The way we think should not stop us from meeting new people, because this person could change your life for the better. It's like society puts an image in our mind of who and who not to associate with. It's just not right. It's not right to shun someone from your life because they are not your standard. We all have a heritage, and that heritage has a past. It doesn't define our voice or who we are today. We leave the past in the past and look forward to the future. Then we look back once in a while to see how good we're doing. We shouldn't use our heritage to judge. That's so 1800s. People of many different races, genders, and orientations have gotten so far in success today, and we're all proud. But we don't talk about the trouble they went through to get to this point. The hate and the misbelief. This hate may make them feel doubtful, and some people would not be the people they are today if they were not mentally strong enough to take in this prejudgment and make them stronger. If people would share their countries with around the world, 5-year-old Sophie Cruz would not be scared of being deported. And if it weren't for segregation, MLK would have been living his dream. Only our voice should be the key to our judgment, our backstory, and the way we actually feel. Would it be too much to ask how someone's day is going when they are the total opposite of you? Would it be too much to help someone in this world feel welcome when they are lonely in a room filled with people? Or even just a greeting? Aggressive, arrogant, bossy, rich, poor, greedy, dumb, smart, impulsive, selfish, untrustworthy, harsh, coward, critical, fussy, and dishonest. All of these negative assumptions you make just by walking on an elevator. Over the last few decades, our Earth has suffered from many disasters and tragedies caused by climate change. Because of this, the issue of climate change has become a hot topic amongst the younger generation.
We are beginning to realize that this is not just a personal issue, but a global one. Climate change is a serious problem that we need to combat before it's too late.
But the real problem at hand is that not many people have time or energy to care about climate change.
We're seeing climate change from an elevation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and other greenhouse gases. And as we develop as humans and develop our industry, we put out more carbon dioxide or CO2 into the atmosphere, and it's changing our world. It's changing the air, it's changing the climate.
Who do I think is the cause of climate change? Well, quite clearly it's what humans have been doing, but not just humans, it's what capitalism, imperialism has been doing.
I believe that everyone is affected, but it's a matter of how much they're affected. Like the California wildfires, the lower classes were affected more since they didn't have as much money as like the rich to like rebuild or like to move.
The term environmental racism is the term for if a factory is being built, the odds that it is put in a community of colors, it's much higher. And that is not random. Black youth have the highest rate of asthma of any group in America, and that is also not a coincidence. Climate change affects first and foremost the most vulnerable members of our society, and because of the way that our society is organized, that is Black and Indigenous people, specifically low-income Black and Indigenous people.
I think a lot of people use that comparison of the frog in the boiling pot, where if you're boiling a pot of water and you try to throw a frog in, the frog will jump right out. But if you put the frog in while the water's still cold and then you heat it up slowly, the frog doesn't notice the temperature change and eventually perishes in the pot. And I think a lot of people will use that comparison for the situation we're in now.
To us, it's like a school shooting is a much more realistic threat than climate change. Like if it gets all it's getting is a little bit warmer, a little bit colder, so we just have to adjust our clothes.
We're really focused on youth of color and stuff like that. So we want to bring more minorities to attention.
Yeah.
And even all groups of people, honestly. So how do we make people care who are non-believers and don't really feel like they're personally affected by climate change? They don't really care about this topic at all.
We actually have to be relying on ourselves, and ourselves being everyone who doesn't want to see, the end of humanity's existence. Everyone who doesn't want to see all these 1 million species completely go extinct. Right now, we can't ignore that there's open climate change deniers, science deniers, and fascists who are in the White House. And the only way to stop fascism is actually people coming into the streets, like how people all over the world are doing.
People, especially young people, are gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that our future is safe. And I think that we know that the Green New Deal is the way to make that happen.
Because we don't have the power to make policies, but we do have a voice. And when the youths are angry, we saw what happened in the 60s, right? We could do it. We could pressure the one who are in power, who are able to minimize it, take action.
I think that when we say something means a lot to us and we're willing to fight for it and miss our education and commit civil disobedience on a weekly basis until something changes, our government and the entire system starts to shift to kind of accommodate our disruptance.
Get connected with other groups, Extinction Rebellion, Sunrise Movement. There's so many youth-led activist organizations that you can participate in. You just gotta reach out, research, and do the work.
Until we have your support, we will continue to protest in the streets of New York, using the privilege that we have to urge our government to act now.
Hit me.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
I'm calling the police. You almost did assault me and you're trespassing in my neighborhood.
Ma'am, hey! This is my neighborhood too.
Hello?
Ma'am.
911?
Ma'am.
Yes, I'd like to report an assault. Yeah. By an African American. Yes, I'm in the park. Thank you.
Yeah.
This morning, we take you to the famed Venice neighborhood of Los Angeles. It's a place where skateboards are common, but women on skateboards?
I think my favorite part about skateboarding is the power and confidence I get when I'm on my board. It just gives me motivation and something to keep working towards. My name is Ruth Wyman. I'm 13. I'm in 8th grade, and I'm part of the Majestic Skate Crew. Originally, I started skateboarding when I was, I think, about 7. And I remember originally, I was kind of pushed back by just local people, because when I first went to skate the first day, I just got on my skateboard and I was so confident. And then I went to the skate park and all these boys were there, and I was so intimidated, so scared, because I was just a tiny little 7, 8-year-old.
It kind of came out of the blue, Ruth's desire to skateboard. She had been going to camp at Majestic Park, and so she saw those kids skating. But she had been playing soccer, playing softball, and she was just, she's been beat to her own drum since birth, and she was just like, I'm a skateboarder. In my heart, I need a skateboard. So it just seemed a little funny, like your little tiny daughter wanting to take on skateboarding, so we bought her a scooter, but she really needed to have a skateboard pretty soon after that.
People don't always think I skate because I'm a girl, so it's not as common. Around the area or at local parks, I don't always see girls skating. Especially 2 months ago, I was the only one, and now sometimes, not always, but there'll be 1 or 2. I think definitely, especially in the Hudson Valley, we need to get more girls skating, but what we have is a start, and I think it's a great beginning.
inspired to start this group, she really had this love of skateboarding and was kind of frustrated that, she'd go to the park and it was a little hectic there a lot of the time with a lot of the older guys, and she was just determined to get some friends together to skate with her. So she convinced a couple of her little girls on her lacrosse team to get some boards, and we started meeting up at scooters, and it just sort of grew. Like, I would be in the grocery store and people would say, "Are you the skateboarding coach?" And like, no, but we're just, getting together at the skate park.
We bring in so many people, and I end up bonding with them in ways where I don't at school. At school, everyone's different, but at Majestic, we all share a common interest, and that's skateboarding. And it's definitely just such a community and place to be yourself, and everyone's welcome. There was actually an article written, and she interviewed a bunch of the girls. She asked them who was their role model, and at least 4 of them put me, and I felt so happy. I was crying because I didn't know I had such a big impact on people, and it makes me feel like such a good person to help out the community and be a role model for all these little girls.
My favorite thing about Majestic's skate crew is probably how many little kids there are and how many little girls there are that are learning how to skateboard at such an early age. I feel like Majestic skate crew has inspired more girls to start skateboarding because they see that it's not always for boys, that it can be for girls, and the girls can come in and they can skateboard, and sometimes when we're there the boys don't come because there's so many little ones, so it's great for us.
I don't know anymore if home is where the heart is, then home is on the floor, 'cause I lie face down and stare into the earth.
Don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in. For me, that's skateboarding and gender equality.
I'm a moth, always on my own, without anybody feeling so alone. Today I just run into booties, me, myself and I versed too many. Whoever dares to walk through the fire can take the warrior chair and worship as a fighter. What's the sound? Hey, you almost got me paralyzed. Who you are, where you from, why you tell me from behind? It's quicker, puts on my fire, what do you think he's doing? I shed no tears, but I don't wanna disappear. Hey, the flower kisses, you never know. Being alone the most is tough for show. In the world of knowledge, I slay all day. Cause I'm a huge book, but like Keelan and Shay. Wanna take the challenge like real heroes do. Truth are hard to take, but I learned something new. Keep your mind clear, no more living in fear. I'm the mouth of fire and I need you to hear.
Gentrification is when a low-income area is revamped to cater to a more wealthy demographic that move in usually for job opportunities. This makes the rent in the area increase substantially. Thus, this creates an issue with the lower-income residents as they are now not able to afford to live there. Gentrification has been affecting Oakland for many years now, as we see a steady rise in the rates of homelessness within the city, as well as many residents being forced to move elsewhere since they can no longer afford rent. We decided to head to the streets of Oakland to document the experiences of those most affected by gentrification, as well as to get their opinions on the practice.
We've seen change quite a bit. I worked in Jacqueline Square years ago. I have 2 Michelin stars as a career chef. And I've seen the Jacqueline Square change. When it was a bumping night scene with the ghost town, and I remember Oakland before people started putting the tents up. Homeless, the word homeless is a stigmatized word that we need to get rid of. As you see here, people have their homes here, and they built these homes just like Americans did in the beginning when they set out in the land, right? The homeless word is such a dangerous word, and it's an attack upon somebody, you know. This is a settlement, not an encampment. It's a settlement, you know. And also, the difference between people who are quote unquote homeless, the stigmatized word, people who are not, is that we're not paying rent. That's the one difference. The choice to not participate in a system that's not sustainable. Perpetuated by the real estate industry, that word, homeless. Get people to stay in their rent, stay in their home. That's why, yeah, homelessness doesn't exist. I think people have their homes right here. Oakland, for the better part of 13 years, it's changed quite a lot. You know, you could argue that this city is leading the world in change, reform. You know, everybody's looking at us and seeing what we do. You know, not just us, there's other cities like our city. You know, we're one of the cities where the world's watching. And, you know, what do they do? Okay, let's do that too. You know, so yeah, we're leading the way as far as change, thinking goes. Any people moving in, you know, have taken over, doesn't respect the existing, you know, who's living there, you know. I've been there. They can show respect by, you know, not pushing us out, you know, and working with it. Paying rent should be illegal. The real estate industry should be done away with. How's a person supposed to chase their dreams, their aspirations, if they're working all the time? How are they supposed to achieve anything in front of their children if they're too busy working? It's not right, it's not fair.
Not only has gentrification led to a massive spike in homelessness, but it has forced many low-income residents to leave the city. This is due to landlords increasing the rent to try and capitalize on the newer, higher-income residents. We managed to interview a former Oakland resident that had to leave the city due to higher rent. She shared with us her experiences and her views on gentrification.
It's definitely harmful because rent went up more than double. So obviously I don't live there anymore because it was too expensive. I think they care about making money more than they care about the current residents. Yeah, a lot of people I've known no longer live in the Bay Area at all because they just can't afford to live in that area anymore. They could have offered more low-income housing attached to any of the new apartments that they were building. I know, what was it? I think Union Square had to allot a certain amount of low-income housing, but they also were able to buy the property for a lot less. And other apartments or people coming in making apartments didn't get the kind of deal that Union got. So in turn, they didn't offer any low-income housing. And that's definitely something that Oakland could have negotiated. I wasn't a competitive enough renter to lease in the area. Like, I would have had to have a really high credit score, make 3 times the rent, and being a single income, that's just not, especially with the rental rates being as high as they are, that just wasn't a feasible thing that I could do. Didn't matter how competitive I was or how fast I moved on an apartment, I just wasn't able to find an apartment that would approve me. So I had to start looking outside of the Bay Area for a residence. There's not enough services for the houseless. There's not enough places for them to go. And they constantly are removing them from locations, and like, there's nowhere for them to go. Like, especially when it comes to the male houseless population, there just aren't services for men who are houseless.
On the surface, Oakland seems to have greatly benefited from gentrification. The city is significantly safer than it once was, and more money is coming into the city than ever before. But all it takes is for you to take a closer look to see how badly gentrification is affecting the native residents. Businesses that are run by people that have been here for years are shutting down because they simply can't compete. The people that made Oakland what it was, that made up the culture and gave the city its flair and identity, are being cast out. What is the end goal of gentrification? Do you want to gentrify the whole city? Kick out all the natives and get newer, richer residents? Make the city a shell of its former self? What about the people that used to live here? Where do they go?
The one piece of advice that I live by these days is to just do what you believe is right. Racism Has No Home here started as a really small local project. It was about signs, lawn signs, literally putting a stake in the ground. There was a protest here, sort of a suburban, small style protest, right after George Floyd was murdered. And it was a couple of houses down from me. There were local people, but there was a group of other people that came out that tried to stop us from protesting. And it wasn't just that they tried to stop us, they were yelling racist, vile things at us. And I just felt like I had to do something. The signs were supposed to just be a way for people to literally put a stake in the ground, to show people of color that there were safe spaces in our community. And it's just expanded exponentially. I never in a million years thought I'd be sending 3,400 signs around the country. Racism isn't a political issue. I get really frustrated when people say that this is just your politics. It's a human rights issue. Every person has the right to exist. Every person has the right to equity. Every person has the right to a fair shot. One of the really powerful things that I've seen as a result of the signs is that there are people buying the signs and putting them in their yards that maybe wouldn't have before, or maybe didn't think about racism as much as they did before. And I hope that they're realizing that racism and the divide along color lines has been politicized when it shouldn't ever be politicized. It's really a matter of human rights. My why for doing this is my son, Jackson. He's 4.5 years old. He's half Trinidadian, half Jewish. And I keep thinking about one day, hopefully in a million years, which I have to say as a Jewish mom, when I'm not here, I want him to know that I really tried to make a change, that I really tried to mobilize people and to have people stand up. not just for him, but for my godson who's black, for my niece who's biracial, for my other nieces. And if we all just do something small, it's gonna have a domino effect. Success for Racism Has No Home here, to me, will be years down the road when we're sort of the connective tissue for communities and groups of people to mobilize and to help those people who are in marginalized or underrepresented groups.
Racism has no home here.
No, in kako se počutiš danes?
Nič kaj boljš. Sploh ne vem, kje sem in kaj se dogaja z mano. Sploh jima ni mar.
Poglej, kaj sem najesla.
Ne, zdaj le nimam časa.
Tak je že cel moj life. Ne vem, če smo kdaj spregovorili več kot par besed na teden. Tako, pridni, tihi sosedi.
In kaj si želiš?
Da bi kričali, se tepli, se drli, karkoli, sem da bi vedeli, da smo. Sem tišina, ne?
Ja, tišina. Tišina je nekaj najbolj groznega. Dati občutek, kot da sploh ne obstajaš. Kot da nikomor ni mar zate.
Otrok po pomoti, otrok slučaja, otrok napaka. Mami, kaj je narobe?
Nič.
A jočeš?
Ne.
Kje pa ati?
Šel je.
In tebi se ne zdi, da bi mi kaj rekla?
Kaj naj ti rečem?
Ja, sej, kaj? Vse druga bi bilo boljš kot to, da si ti. Skozi si sam ti, vse svoj life si sam ti. In ati ti, in jaz sem ti. Perfect family, skozi ti.
Sosedi bojo slišali, no?
Ja, sej, sosedi bojo slišali. Bog ne da, da bi sosedi kaj slišali. Sam jaz bom vse nekaj rekla. Sem tako na tih, da ne bom nobenega zmotila.
We're now receiving breaking news of a terrorist incident.
A no-deal Brexit is looking increasingly likely after the Prime Minister's failure to agree on a trade deal with the EU. Se rapproche désormais d'un no deal Brexit. Le Premier ministre britannique n'a pas réussi à obtenir d'accord avec l'Union européenne.
Hey, what's up? Hey, Liv, did you see the news?
Shit, yeah, it's terrible.
We should do something.
Like a fundraiser or a sponsored walk? What government is going to listen to a sponsored walk? We should protest.
I don't know. Seems kind of stressful.
What do you mean stressful?
Well, how would we make people come?
Simple. How many followers do you have right now?
Maybe 800?
So between us, it's like 1,500? Easy.
We could just post something.
Or a live stream. We could tell people to please come out this Saturday. We're going to need everyone's support. It's such an important cause, and the only way we can make a difference is by getting involved. I think people might respond well to that kind of stuff, like, you know, addressing them directly.
Yeah, but maybe a bit less speechy. Like, just talk to them. All anyone's talking about right now is that
Silence is violence, and it might not be the nicest message to hear, but everyone is complacent. You personally have a responsibility to the cause, and I just want to make a strong point, because everyone just scrolls past this stuff all the time, and to be honest, it's not really going to do anything unless people come out this Saturday. Make your signs, do as much as you can, because silence is violence.
This is such a great idea.
Yeah, honestly, I can't wait.
Is there a limit to how many people we can bring to the protest?
As many as you can.
Yeah, I know some people who definitely want to join.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, can't wait. See you guys there.
Oh, hey. I thought you were supposed to be going out with your friends.
Oh, yeah. I decided not to go anymore.
I thought it was out there about this guy. I just can't be arsed.
Is that really happening?
Seeing significant growth in the active rewards members. You know, this year, posted a 13% growth in active rewards.
Very big driver for you.
Off the table
take us into what you're experiencing
48 years ago, and you know, now we're at over 30,000 in our stores, fees to hand our coffee to retailers.
Is going to increase stimulus. It almost doesn't matter or is even beneficial to risk assets if there is an escalating trade war. Lale, what would you say to that?
I think there's certainly that hope. I think the Fed put is alive and well. You can totally see that from the commentary that's coming through, but I wouldn't really bank on it. I mean, again, to Eric's point earlier, the markets haven't sold off. I mean, just because we're down 1% or 2% here and there, that's not a big sell-off.
Yeah, but Eric, is that true that the Fed and the PBOC and the ECB puts aren't going to
I think the more material put is probably the Trump put, right? And so it's really interesting. If you look at Trump's approval rating, his approval rating ticked up to an all-time high, days before that tweet came out, post the Mueller investigation, right? And so that has started to dip down, and we know that historically when that dips down a lot, there tends to be a softening of rhetoric.
Stephen?
Look, I think it differs across countries. I think the Fed has some room to ease, but they can probably offset the equivalent of a one. Look, I think it differs across countries.
That the Fed's patience will last to 2019. Instead, markets are skating to where they think the puck is going. Now, that could be risks from U.S.-China trade or really just late cycle worries. And we do see the stock markets increasingly reflect those worries. Now, there's a belief that there's going to be continued accommodative policy. And we can see, unfortunately, I don't have the chart up for you, but growth stocks versus value stocks has hit a new high. This is typical late cycle behavior, now surpassing the level of the dot-com bubble. So are we going to see a market turn, especially as the Fed isn't quite reflecting what markets are seeing? Saw in yesterday's minutes that Fed officials really in no hurry to move interest rates. And you can see here from the minutes that inflation.
case you missed it, there's a racial juxtaposition. You see my blackness as a weapon, I see it as ammunition.
Zone into this, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Digital Digest Radio, and I'm your host, John Vivian. Xenophobia, racism, and absolute bigotry plague our nation for yet another day. With the relentless amount of police killings and lynchings we've seen over the past several months, one has to wonder, when will it be safe for us to exist in this society? Viciously, we are being slaughtered in the streets because our complexion is more akin to the trees in the forest than the sands on the beach. Unless we fight back against this oppressive regime, justice will remain as far away from us as Egypt is from the Pacific. Today, another innocent black man was killed in Richmond, a black woman killed in Atlanta, and a boy no older than Greta V. Bullinger killed in Charleston. Saying their names is no longer enough when the politicians are as silent as the dead. Racism is a plague wrapped around our nation like a robe on a Klansman. Quietly, our government has sat aside as black people are beaten, hung, shot, and killed more times in a day than our president tells the truth. People keep saying that the world is changing, but I challenge them to look at the footprints in the sand, because to me, it looks like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Our people should not live in fear of having their names turned into a hashtag tomorrow. Nobody should be afraid of the people charged to protect them. That's my mistake. The blues were never meant to protect the blacks.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Digital Digest Radio. I am your host, John Vivian, and today is another glorious day in the US of A. Kids can feel free to run around outside and soak up as much vitamin D as they can. In case you did not know, today is a day for peace. How sweet would it be to walk outside without the fear of feeling manila wrapped around your throat or 3 inches of lead wrapped around your heart?
Don't even know what's in store, but this is the kind of life that I can adore.
God, our Heavenly Father, says that we are all created equal, whether our skin is darker than the beans in your coffee or whiter than the cream you put it in.
Please don't hurt me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I don't want to die.
Wait!
Please don't hurt me. Please don't.
Please stop! Get away from him! Don't hurt him!
No, let me out! One day, I'll make it to the promised land and live with freedom, just like I'm promised.
Do not run from that which you cannot escape. You are the rock upon which this church was built. Can you feel the weight of its labor sink into your skin like that of the cowhide against the backs of your ancestors? Break away from
Trapped in a hell of hate crimes, all happening at the same time as I'm trying to escape a crumbling space-time. Ours is the struggle of a lifetime, or maybe even many lifetimes. But I want to know, will it be in my lifetime? Will I be alive in time? See, I've grown up in a world that only loves chocolate when it's coming in a wrapper, or they come and see a rapper. But when you see our ebony skin in the street, you always think that we a strapper. Best believe I see when you pull your purse close and strap her. I'm spitting this phonetically, my words connect kinetically, and I'm not talking hypothetically or theoretically, cause cops really killing niggas unapologetically and unsympathetically. When they yell at me, I think this country gone to hell. You see, they think equality is synonymous to heresy, but honestly they're angry and just fueled by jealousy. They'd rather turn our bloodshed into monetization than turning the boys in blue for their criminalization. Martin had a dream, but I must be wide awake because this can't be what he mean. I'm tired of niggas being outlined and talk on the scene. I'm tired of them telling us we bat for the wrong team. Every time we call them microaggressions obscene, I'm tired of this hate flowing in my bloodstream. And every time I open my eyes, I want to scream. In case you missed it, there's a racial juxtaposition. You see my blackness as a weapon. I see it as... I ain't into talking. You've been living lawless, trying to count your money up, but you should count your